year we should have been bringing our 14th production to the Buxton Fringe, but as we all know, everything has now been put on hold. So what we thought we would do is to use this opportunity to give you an insight into some of the other things that we get up to during the year when we're not with you in Buxton.
I've been coming to Buxton to support the company for quite a few years now, but I've only performed for the last couple of years, so this year should have been my third year performing at Buxton. So the first year I performed, I did a dramatic play with three of the castmates called The Shape of Things, and then last year I got to do a comedy called Geoffrey Bernard is Unwell. Geoffrey Bernard is a huge character. He literally does not leave the stage. It's basically one massive monologue with interjections. So Phil Malkin played Geoffrey, and then there was myself and Sam Asbury, and we were playing all the other parts. So they were split basically 50-50 between the two of us. So I not only had to adapt to comedy and just throw myself into that. It was loads and loads of different characters, so multi-rolling to the absolute max. And it is safe to say I have never enjoyed and had as much fun going on stage as I had doing that show. And that was because I was part of a play that came to Buxton, so I will always remember that because it was just one of my favourite things ever to do.
I've been lucky enough to be part of 4 sudden impulse performances that we've taken to the Buxton Fringe Festival. Every one I've loved in their own individual way. Have all been an absolute dream to be part of, but for me, probably the one that tops it is 2 by Jim Cartwright. The play itself is absolutely fantastic. It's hilarious, it's heartwarming, and it's heartbreaking as well, and it's an absolute joy to be part of. And to top it off, we kind of sold out on every single performance, in fact oversold on some, and so did in turn our second play that we took that year with Departure Lounge. It was a year of beautiful sunshine, great fun flying, and brilliant audiences and audience reaction, so I absolutely love that one. But then the icing on the cake that year, I suppose, was both productions were nominated during the awards ceremony for both acting and production. And over the years, we've, as a company, received lots of nominations and some awards as well, which is something that we're eternally grateful for to the Buxton Fringe. It's good to know that what we're doing lands well and means a lot to the people up there.
So my first time performing at Buxton was in 2015. So in 2014 I just went up just to see what it was all about, and it was brilliant. But the year after, got to perform in a show called Departure Lounge. There were 5 of us performing, acting in the cast, and then there were two guys playing guitar. So it was a sort of a little group of 7 of us, and we performed in one of the underground venues. I think it was 4 shows that we did, and it was I remember it so well because it was so. We were surprised with how well received it was, because we knew it was fun, we knew it was funny, and we knew there were some really good songs in there, really funny songs because it was really immature, which we all loved because we all had to play 18-year-olds, even though I think I was the youngest and I was 23. And one of the reviews, it said they were great, apart from the fact that none of them looked 18, which was absolutely we did not get away with that. But Departure Lounge it was a little one-act musical about 4 lads who get stuck in a departure lounge waiting to come home from a Spanish holiday to Magaluf or somewhere like that, the Costa del Sol, and it was just them reminiscing about their holiday and talking about the fact that they're on this point of leaving school and going to university and going separate ways. it was a sort of a little bit of like a coming of age story, but it was lovely, and it was all packed into 75 minutes as well. And all of us had an insane amount of fun doing it, because it was just us being silly for 1.25 hours, and there's nothing like it when you just hear, when you're performing and you're singing and you've got people in the crowd and you can see their faces, because at Buxton they're small venues, like the underground venue we performed, I think it was to about 40 people. You can see everyone and you can see their faces when they're laughing, and there's nothing like it when they're just smiling and they're having fun. And the music in it as well, there were about 13 songs, and it was the four of us lads trying to do 4-part harmony, and then we spent a lot of nights working on those, just sitting with the guys doing on the guitars, just going through it over and over, just trying to make sure it was all right. And I think we got there in the end. It sounded, to us it sounded fine. I'm not sure about the audience, but to us it sounded okay. But it's nothing like it being in a show, which we love to do anyway. Anyone who goes to Buxton, they love performing, but when you do it with your mates as well, some really, really good mates, and walking off that stage and you know you've done a good show, you sort of look at each other and you go, yeah, that was all right, that was good. And then you look at the guys on the guitars and they're good, that was all right, that was good. Departure Lounge was brilliant, but it was a show that had the comedy, but without the music it would not have worked as near as well as it was, because the majority of the comedy was in the music. The music was so clever, and even though it was silly, it was clever, and the lyrics were really clever, and it sort of got to some places which were quite emotional in some bits as well. It wasn't just funny all the way through. There were some quite nice little moments with a couple of the guys, and it was a show which had everything, but the music was integral. If it didn't have it, it would not have worked nowhere near as well as it did. And it was just two guitars. That's all you need. Just two guitars, not a big fancy orchestra. It's just two lads with sombreros on their heads, with an inflatable donkey next to them, just playing the guitar, and it was great. It was a show that I'll never ever forget.
In 2014, our 10th anniversary coincided with the 100th anniversary of the start of World War One. So to mark both occasions, we decided to embark on a very important series of plays. We would produce a World War One based production for every year of the centenary. And we started off in 2014 with Nick Whitby's To the Green Fields Beyond, which was a play that is set during the course of one evening, where a tank crew are contemplating the battle the next day, a battle which they are almost certainly not going to survive. In 2015, we had a full-scale production of Joan Littlewood's Oh What a Lovely War. I think there were 32 in the cast. An extraordinary piece of theatre, and well worth doing. In 2016, we had a very moving production of Michael Morpurgo's Private Peaceful. And in 2017, it was Peter Whelan's The Accrington Pals. 2018, the final year, the centenary, the end of World War One, we did two productions. One of them was a retrospective look back, which also included 2 episodes of Blackadder Goes Forth. But our biggest production we left to the end, and I say biggest as in terms of ambition rather than necessarily scale in terms of cast or size. It was a play which we called Treacletown Tommy, and which was an original play, researched around the mining heritage that this town has, and we looked into how life was in Nuneaton, what these miners were doing, and we researched the fact that every local pit, and there were several, mainly privately owned, in fact all of them privately owned at the time, had to send a quota of people to the front. They were each given, depending on the size of the pit and the number of workers they had, they were each given a quota of people they had to send. During the course of writing it, I did an extraordinary amount of research, not only on local history, but also on the social history of the time, which was absolutely wonderful and a very, very exciting piece. I think what almost worked to our advantage was I originally applied for a Heritage Lottery grant to research and create the piece, and it was going to be on a much, much bigger scale, but unfortunately we didn't get the grant. We were unsuccessful, and it was a case of either scrapping the project or making it much smaller. And I happen to think that making it much smaller worked to its advantage, because I was able to concentrate on a family and a few of their friends around that, and really get into the personal of what life was like for people who worked down the pit, what life was like for the working class people at the time, how the war came along and what changes that happened to them, not just in terms of the war, but what social changes that brought about as well. But also we were able to explore and do quite a lot of research into what these miners actually went out to do. And it wasn't just about digging trenches, it was all about the tunnels that went under, the network of tunnels that went underneath the enemy trenches, where they would lay huge piles of explosives and detonate them underneath the trenches. There was an awful lot that we put into that, and I think the very fact that we had to keep it to a small family unit made it much more personal. And this town is there's no pits left, but it's still got that mining heritage. Virtually everywhere you go there's some reference to mine, and every local village has got a pit wheel as a monument. So I think it still resonates with an awful lot of people. There are still many people who live in this town who were miners, and many, many more whose direct descendants, whose father was a miner and still worked down the pit. So it was a very rewarding piece to work on.
In 2014, Sudden Impulse performed To the Green Fields Beyond by Nick Whitby, the first of our plays marking the centenary of the Great War. In this play, we join a tank crew on the eve of a large battle and discover the hardship and friendship and conditions fighting in a First World War tank. This excerpt is taken from Act 2, where the crew are discussing and voting on whether they should go into battle. The vote is hung by the time it gets to Ain to make his decision and vote.
Drive the fucker in, lads. This last week I've shut my mind off. Now you're asking me to think with it. Shit. If we cut this fight, we'll pay for it. None of us should cod himself. We'll pay. I don't know what pain is. Real pain. I've had a share. I don't know what it is to live life without an arm or a face or only half a brain. I don't know what it is to die or be dead. But perhaps the imagining is the worst of all. I don't know. I know one thing though. This is where pain happens. There's no pain without this thing up here. No hell like a mental hell. No torture like what a man can inflict on himself in here. If we cut this thing, if we do, then each and every one of us is going to have it run in his head for the remains of his life, like a ghost, or a dream, or in his imagining, real as day, till his last breath. But there's more. If we cut, if we do, then every time we've ever had together, the moments we've done, shared, ahead, every scrap of comfort we've ever taken out of this is made into something else. Napoo, gone! That's all shit. I'll tell you what I feel. I'll tell you what I feel. You've got some fucking metal, mate. Because what you said is courage, pure. And if this were about metal, like we know it, metal where it matters, being where it matters, we'd slip this fight. Slip this one, die some other night. But there's more. Something bigger, though, came out of this war than either living or dying. That's us. Not each of us, just us. When we click, I don't have no fear of nothing. 1,000 times I put my life in your call, you in mine. It never even crossed my mind to think the fact we're a bunch of bags, buckles, wogs and country inbreds. It's a freak of nature what it is. It's something bigger than this war. It's like a kingdom come. It fills me with pride and hope and love. It fills me with love. I'm not going to make no choice, one way or the other. Because for me, the choice ain't it. I'll drive you, I'll follow you, whatever way you want to go. But let's do it together. No one dragging, no one hung up, no regrets. Together. They'll face anything.
In 2015, we set out into the slightly lesser known territory to Sudden Impulse of the big ensemble musical, when we took on Joan Littlewood's sublime comedy, Oh What a Lovely War. Although a comedy at its roots, it's an extremely poignant satire on the horrors of the First World War, and though not our normal choice of show, we felt that we couldn't miss the opportunity to take to the stage with such an important piece of theatre. Taken from this incredible production, here is Eleanor Charman singing Keep the Home Fires Burning.
They were summoned from the hillside, they were called in from the glen, and the country found them ready at the stirring call for men. Let no tears add to their hardship as the soldiers pass along, and although your heart is breaking, make it sing this cheery song. Keep the home fires burning while our hearts are yearning. Though the lads are far away, they dream of home. There's a silver lining through the dark clouds shining. Turn the dark clouds inside out till the boys come home.
We hope you enjoyed looking at that little insight into some of the things that we get up to during the year when we're not at Buxton. And if you did, then there's more available. Check out our YouTube channel. The link is on the Buxton Festival Fringe website, and you'll find there are several more episodes to have a look at. Now, we know that this is a difficult time for every single person in the arts world, and in common with so many, we don't get any funding other than our box office and our ticket sales, and of course that has now totally dried up. If you do feel that you are able to give a donation of any sort, then it would be much appreciated, and it will help us continue our valuable work. The link to our GoFundMe page is available on the Buxton Festival Fringe website next to our entry. It's also available on our own website, www.suddenimpulse.co.uk, when you can find many other things that we get up to and our show archive. Thanks for watching. and we hope to see you again soon, outside the old clubhouse, enjoying a pint in the sunshine, July 2021. Thank you.